You're listening to the Jaybird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansided.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to another evening of Jaybird Watching. I am your host, Craig Borden. Tonight, I am flying solo with my good friend, Eric. How we doing, buddy? How's Definitely Not Jays Talk going?
It is going very well, thank you. I just started the next next post, which will come out not this Friday, but it'll come out next Friday. It's going to be the quote-unquote season opener post.
There you go. We got to figure out something fun to do for the season opener here on this show, because there's got to be something that we can get into. And I'm going to hate to be this person, but I'll be back in never mind. It sounded like the dogs were goofing around behind me.
Well, we should have them on the show. Just let them come in.
Yeah,
I want to know what they think about
seem to get really excited as soon as I sit down for the show, but they're barking at each other. But anyways, like I said, tonight, it's just you and I. We're going to talk all things fact or fiction with the Toronto Blue Jays, as Liz actually asked for an off day. So, Liz, I hope you're enjoying fun with all your friends tonight. And Jason, good luck settling into your new job, bud. I know we're going to figure out what time we get you back on the show. So let's just dive into the first things first. There's the one piece here that we obviously haven't talked to you about, so I'm interested in hearing your perspective. It is the quote-unquote elephant in the room for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Vlad contract stuff just keeps getting crazier and crazier, and it is a distraction at this point. There is no other way, in my opinion, of saying it. So what are you feeling in this whole thing with Vlad Jr., bud?
Yeah, no kidding. It's a distraction, and Vladdy can say it's not going to distract him and distract the team, and the Blue Jays can say, "Oh, we're not going to let it get to us," and they're right. They might be right. They might be able to put it out, but this is going to be the storyline of 2025. This is going to be the story arc that's going to go everywhere with the team. So when the Blue Jays are on a winning streak, people are going to be wondering about Vladdy. When the Blue Jays are on a losing streak, people are going to be wondering about Vladdy. This is exactly like when the Raptors had Kawhi Leonard on their team in 2019, Craig. That was a constant question. What's going to happen with Kawhi at the end of the season? Thank God they won a championship, and Kawhi played a big role in that. And
monster role.
That's this is the same thing with Vladdy. Now hopefully the Blue Jays win a championship as well, because if Vladdy does leave, it will certainly soften the blow. Look, there's a lot of rumor and innuendo, and there's a lot of speculation. We have what the team is saying, and there's a lot of what Vladdy and his side is saying, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. We're not in those negotiations. We don't know what's officially being said, what's being offered. It's all speculation. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. We have no choice. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. I would love it. I would love it if he re-signed with the Jays. But right now it's out of our control, and we just have to ride the wave. We definitely have to ride the wave. And I think the important thing for people to remember is that Vladdy isn't negotiating with the Jays. It's Vladdy and his team. It's not like Vladdy is all by himself in a room with Ross Atkins and they're going back and forth about contract offers and salaries and stuff like that. Vladdy is not only a human being, but Vladdy is also a brand name. Vladdy is also a company. He is a father.
He used to MLB The Show last year, for example, right?
Exactly. He's a father. He's a son. He is he is a boss. He's got people on his own payroll, right? And he's also a philanthropist. He does charity work. So he's got to go in there. Him and his team have to go in there and decide what's best for his brand, what's best for him. So it's not just him, it's a whole bunch of people tied to him as well, which is important for folks to remember.
Yeah. And I know the one thing I always hear in these conversations and all these pieces and whatnot here is, how can they really ask for that amount of money? I don't give what sport it is. Somebody always asks that question. And as a guy that tried and failed getting into Major League Baseball.
You went a lot farther than me.
You didn't quite get there, just saying. So, in the midst of this whole thing, think of how this is. If you are somebody that's in the Vlad Guerrero category, there is pretty much no argument that he is probably the best first baseman in Major League Baseball. So, if that's the truth, he should be making the most of all first basemen in Major League Baseball. You've also had very close comps over the last off seasons in offensive production with what you saw from Shohei Ohtani going in. If you're only looking at him from an offensive, I'm not saying the pitching piece, but then you look at Juan Soto, who we already have seen this spring training that can't play right field or save his life on certain plays. But you got a guy that is a generational talent here, regardless of the Blue Jays will say you. He is going to make his main bank for his whole life off of his Major League Baseball career and his brand, to your point. If he doesn't, so he's trying to make sure that he maximizes that pay. The rumor was $50 million in difference over the contract, which if over a 10-year contract, okay, great. That's really what? A few pennies, when you're talking about how much money the whole contract is every other year, a few $1 million each season over 10 years. It's just an extra, like I said, it's that next piece that makes it worth it for him. Maybe it's worth it, but it is what it is. I'm not the one handing out the checks.
Well, it's not really about who's handing out the checks. Everything is in Vladdy and his team's control. They are in control. They're the free agents. The Blue Jays could give him Juan Soto's salary, right? They could give him $700 million, $800 million. Hell, I'd give him $900 million. But now you know why I'm not a general manager, Craig. But in the end, it's Vladdy's decision. That's it. Yeah. And you know what? Obviously, he's betting on himself. And maybe he never, and I'm not saying this is true, maybe he never had the intention of signing before spring training. Maybe he is very confident in his abilities and he wants to be wined and dined by all the other teams. And I mean, that's why they are free agents. They are the ones in control. Yeah. And truth be told, they should be. He wants
his own playing gate story.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that was just a very, very unique circumstance.
I had to make the joke, but Blue Jays fans already in the comments, very, very unison in the pay the man.
Oh, yeah. I pay the man.
I know I'm preaching to the choir here. And Michael, there is no apologies for you being late watching the Leafs. Come on. It's almost baseball season, 2 weeks. Glad to have you back on the comments here, bud.
But listen, yeah, I would totally pay the man, like Night Train said. I would totally pay him. I would rather overpay Vladdy Guerrero and put up with all his, maybe there's base running mistakes. Maybe the back end of that contract is an albatross. Maybe Vladdy, unfortunately his skills, start to decline by the time he's 30. I would rather put up with all that, and I would rather overpay than see him in a New York Yankees uniform and see him in a Boston Red Sox uniform, or see him in a
1,000%.
See him in a Dodgers uniform. I also want to say one other thing, Craig.
Sure.
I've been thinking about this lately. Do you remember in just before the 2019 season started, Bryce Harper hadn't signed with anybody, and in the end,
about through this point of spring training, if I recall correct, wasn't it?
That's right. And his first game was against the Jays, and Trent Thornton hit him. Anyway, not long story short, he chose to leave the Washington Nationals to sign with the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's a blow. He was Mr. Washington National for many, many seasons, and he chose to, dump the Nationals for the Phillies. He went with a new team.
Yeah,
that's the business side, and that's that's hard cheese, folks. That's just hard cheese.
Yeah.
But who won the World Series? Who won the World Series a few months later, though?
The Washington Nationals.
There you go. Now, I'm not saying that's gonna with Scherzer and Soto and Anthony Rendon, a healthy Anthony Rendon. And I'm just saying, I'm not going to,
there's an
maybe that happens. Maybe that happens with the J. I'm just saying, there is life after Vladdy.
Correct.
It's important to consider that, but let's get him signed. Give him whatever he wants. I give him citizenship, or he has citizenship, but give everyone in the
sorry, I got that. So on that note, I think there is something for paying your guy, knowing what you're getting. He already is your brand as much as his own.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing that I have a problem with right now is the fact that you didn't pay. So this has to become a shit or get off the pot year. You have to win this year, because if you don't, you are going with nothing. You have to win, or you have to find the quickest way to tear this thing down before the trade deadline and get this whole farm system thing. You and I actually had this talk with Craig Ballard online that we put the thing up about the minor league system, and we're number 27.
Yes,
and
27th
I totally agree with
best farm system.
yes, 27th.
Call it how you say it.
Problem.
27th best in the entire world.
Correct. And my personal belief on that whole thing is I'm a minor league baseball guy. I love minor league baseball. And it's not just Savannah Bananas stuff. I love minor league baseball. So I like watching these young kids come up through the system. And I'm not saying there's no talent, because there is a caveat here on this whole piece here too, Eric. We might be, to your point, to go with and put weight in that whole 27th best argument. There is an argument to be made that the minor leagues are that much better with talent since the way that Ron Manfred unfortunately restructured the minor league system and took those lower levels out. You're making those leagues more competitive because the best talent has to be in those leagues, because now you don't have the rookie level ball. So there's a little to that in my thought too. So that doesn't mean your cupboards are completely bare. It means you have no monster top end prospects, is my argument. But you can't tell me with this front office saying we're going to build this dynasty, we are going to fill the minor league system, we're going to crush it at the major league level. I haven't seen any of that. It's been this many years.
I don't know. 10
So
years.
there would be my problem. And it's not like they've even traded the minor league teams. They have not produced a minor league system, is my problem. And now you have a major league team that's falling out if you don't hold on to some of these players like Vlad. You've shot yourself in the foot all the way around. That is my gripe with the 27th ranking.
Yeah, and see, I'm the complete opposite with the minor league system, because to me, and this is a very simple way of saying it, and layperson way of saying it, but to me, it's a crapshoot. You're basically, you're picking a bunch of guys, and God willing, some of them will make it to the majors.
Correct. But to me, that is just as important that those guys have a good name to be able to trade. Right now, that piece, the Blue Jays can't trade for that guy that they need right now with unless you trade the King's ransom of what is left in our minor league system.
If someone wants Arjun, I'd trade him.
Yeah, it really depends on what's going on, because I really do agree with Francisco Lindor watching that kid. And I don't know if you've heard this from, Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor, that he's most excited to see Arjun Amala as we are as Blue Jays fans. And that home run he hit this spring, I watched that thing. That was a tank. So there is something there. You might have the air to Bo Bichette in him. Keyword might, to your exact point, because prospects are just as good for your growth of your own Major League Baseball team as they are for trading as assets to help your Major League team. And that's what we saw with Alex Anthopoulos in 2015, right? But those trades sustained us for 2 years. It got you to the postseason in 2015, and it got you in 2016. You can't trade
Alex's career
without trading Vlad and Bo for 2026. That's, I guess, the argument.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying there, and it's just, I think it's just, like I said, it's a crapshoot. Like, it's just bad luck all around. And let's be real, though, if they're rebuilding that system, it should not be the current front office. I think we can all agree to that. And perhaps, hopefully, Mr. Edward Rogers would agree to that. Because, if they can figure it out, if they could figure out the secret sauce, then, Mark Shapiro and Russ Atkins are going to stay. But if they are going to strip things down and, they hit that atomic clock, if it strikes midnight, it really shouldn't be Mark and Ross rebuilding.
Correct.
They've had, and it's like, I don't hate them. I don't begrudge them. I don't curse them like many others do. It's just, they've had their shot. And unfortunately they didn't figure out the secret sauce.
Correct.
That's how it happened.
And after 10 years, I'm sorry to say that maybe this means your time for a change. Simple as that.
It was the same thing with Ricciardi.
Yeah, it's really about the same kind of an era, too, as far as I know. Everybody curses that name, too.
Well, they could curse them, but without JP Ricciardi, we don't have Edwin and Jose.
Correct.
Yeah.
And people forget that.
Sometimes the legacy, you don't really realize the legacy until way down the road.
Yeah, the problem is you don't see the what the team drafted in that time frame period, or the fact that everybody gets distracted by all the Ted Lillys, the Miguel Bautistas, and paying a bunch of money for BJ Ryan to really pitch one season.
It was a hell of a season, though.
It's a hell of a season.
Hell of a season.
But let's spin off this a little bit and slightly tangent over, because I wanted to talk about this at the end of the show, but we're talking prospects and young players and stuff like that. So the spring breakout game is this weekend. The Blue Jays will be playing the Minnesota Twins. So this is the high-end prospects from both, organizations hashing it out in one minor league game against each other. So you're going to see Trey Savage pitch, and you're going to see Arjun Namala play against all these young players, along with Alan Roden, Charles McAdoo, and even Emmanuel Bonilla. I was actually excited to see is actually going to be playing in this game probably. So just more names. And then you're going to get somebody even like Desan Brown, the Toronto area native, to be able to play in this as well. So I like being able to see this game every year now that they, this will be the second year they've done it. But it's something fun for me to be able to watch as a person that is interested in all these guys.
Yeah, it's a good way to see the future. You never know. It reminds me of the All-Star Week for MLB when they have the what is the game called? It's
Futures game.
Part of the Futures game. Exactly. It's just like that, a Futures game. It's just a fun way to showcase the young talent and for all the Craig Bordens out there.
Well, you're actually going to see two of our draft picks from last year possibly in this game, and Trey Savage, who is currently ranked, according to what I'm reading, the 87th prospect in all of baseball in the top 100, and right next to him, funny enough, Arjun Namala, 86. But we also drafted Johnny King, a left-handed pitcher last year, who from all accounts is a very good young player, and I'm looking forward to maybe seeing him, because you don't see them in the regular spring training games. These guys are that far down the roster that haven't played maybe in a full year of the Blue Jays system yet. So, Savage, I think, pitched the other day, but it was like in the ninth inning for a minute. But it is what it is. Kids got crazy stuff. It's what you get when you're a first-round pick. But I think it's funny that we talked that you're getting all those youngsters, and then you're going to have a Ralvis Martinez probably playing in that game too, who is having a great spring.
Yeah, why not? Get him some reps.
Exactly. So, cool thing for Blue Jays fans to catch in. In worst-case scenario, maybe you'll see one of these guys drop a monster bomb or something like that and see a couple of good pitches, whatever it might be. But there is some good stuff here. And like I said, you're going to see the Blue Jays top 30 prospects in this game is what I think is really cool to the whole thing. Yeah.
Who manages that team?
I will look at that really quick, because that's actually a very interesting question.
Because I feel like they have like special guest managers, but I might have that wrong.
I feel like they used to do something I feel like they did something like that. Why? I feel like Devon White did it last year, because he is a coach in the Blue Jays system.
Yes, he is. I think he's with Buffalo with them.
Yes, he is. I want to say he was third base coach. So it's really cool either way. Not to mention, why wouldn't you want Devo around anyway?
Oh, of course. Nobody
Shout
knows.
out to our buddy, not Guy Eddie, that did a NEPTA, not enough people talk about, for Devon White last week. That was really fun.
Oh, and I absolutely love that, because when I was a kid, Devo was the center fielder, and it seemed like every fly ball hit to him, he caught. I don't even recall him making an error. I recall him making one of the greatest catches in World Series history, but I don't recall. Like, there was just, and I mean, and that's, I know Vernon Wells won a bunch of Gold Gloves, but man, Devon White gave us a certain amount of confidence. Like, you knew that ball was going to be caught. And I don't know if that confidence still exists. I mean, with Springer a little bit and Varsho, but something about Devo is the childhood memory. That's the powerful part.
100%. So let's tangent into talking about the big main stories. Is apparently we're the best team in the Grapefruit League, and maybe even in spring training period.
All right, let's get that banner. Let's unfurl that banner.
All right, put that one up.
For sure.
It goes
Oh
right
my
next to
God.
all the other stuff. Missing out on Shohei and all the other ones we saw from memes and stuff over the internet this year. So, but let's talk about it. Today, I want to talk about, like I said, fact or fiction. So looking through stats and all this stuff, and it doesn't have to be Blue Jays stuff. I want to talk about Major League Baseball in general, but we're going to start with some of the Blue Jays stuff here as far as a fact or fiction piece, Eric. So fact or fiction, Dalton Varsho has found something at the plate.
Dalton Varsho is defying gravity and science right now, because if I am not mistaken, he was supposed to be out until April and May. Like, his spring training was supposed to be April, May. I wrote an article about this on Definitely Not Jays Talk. I made a prediction that, the first half of the season wasn't going to be great for Varsho because he's going to be injured. He's missing his spring training, so he's got to get his reps in the regular season, and he's probably going to struggle, which means everybody's complaining about Moreno and Gurriel, that's trade. And yes, Dalton Varsho is greater than science, Nitro.
Yeah, Dalton Varsho is greater than science.
And then he's going to tear it up. Listen, I watched today's spring training game, and Varsho destroyed a baseball. It landed right on that in the right field corner. I don't know if that's a clubhouse. Joe Siddle described it as a shed, but it landed. It landed on the roof, and it bounced around, and it did not want to come down. That's how hurt it was. But
it's not a resident of that house.
No, it is not. Listen, I would love it. You have his bat, and you have that amazing glove. No one's going to be missing Gabriel Moreno. And I would love that, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing people complain about that trade.
I think this trade is actually, it's been slowly evening out over time, right? Because obviously the problem was that the Diamondbacks went to the World Series. That was the biggest problem with the first end of this whole thing, right? They got Lourdes and Moreno, and they both did amazing.
Yeah, it was salt in the wounds, not going to lie.
Correct. I agreed with that wholeheartedly at the time. I'm still not most excited until hoping this is true, that I've always thought that Dalton Varsho was going to hit. I was wondering what the catalyst was that would finally be the thing that gets him to be a major league hitter. And maybe he's found something. Maybe this injury that has been, what was it, a knee injury or something? Shoulder. That's right. So maybe the rehab just fluffed them up to the right level of, slugger.
Well, he's probably been at the PDC all winter long. So he's just working in those cages.
Knowing he could hit before he could throw and all those things, it makes me think he probably did more training this off season. I'm just thinking about his approach at the plate. He's already a great, fielder. I'm not worried about him one way or the other when he shows up to spring training. Even if he regressed in the field a little bit, he's still a Gold Glove winner, maybe. Not contending for a platinum Gold Glove. There's not a lot of regress there. So maybe he found some things. Maybe some of these guys that came into camp early, he was hanging out with Alejandro Kirk, who was also trying to learn how to hit all over again all winter, it sounded like, who spent the whole winter actually at the Blue Jays player development center. So maybe this is the beginning of something fun. But like I said, the question is it fact or is it fiction? And I'm leaning toward it's probably more fact, because he has had that chance to work on his hitting.
We're watching it. We're seeing it live. And
to the tune of 7 games with 4 home runs.
And hey, I will take it. Anything to help.
I forgot to mention he has a double and a triple out of those 7 hits too. So he only has 1 single. All the rest are extra bases.
All right, let's go.
And don't forget that he's got 9 RBIs and 5 runs scored in that too.
Was it Varsho that changed this number? Did Varsho I think Santander took Varsho's old number. Was that?
I think you might be right. I can't remember. I'm going to look it up.
Look it up, because maybe that's what it is. Maybe he got rid of the old, like Bo chopping his hair off. Maybe he just needed a change.
Varsho's number 5 now.
There you go. The secret science. Another secret sauce. Excuse me.
There it is. So, but
sometimes you just got to do something to change up the karma.
Correct. And then we'll move over to the other gentleman that changed the karma, who's having a nice hitting spring. What do you think of Bo Bichette so far this spring, my friend?
I hope Bo Bichette has a monster season. And
It's a hell of a start.
Yep, it is. It is. And he got I think he got at least an RBI. Got some I think he helped tie the game today. I can't quite remember. It's spring training. But I am expecting big things.
I listened to it on the radio, so
well, the TV was the radio technically, or at least that's what I've been getting on the alternate stream. But he's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot to prove. He had a bad season. We know what Bo can do when he is the best hitter in the game. We've seen it. We love it. And again, last year I wrote maybe he needs to just cut his hair. It's not going to be the thing that gets him going, but it's kind of symbolizes a change, trying something new, and it's paying off. It's paying dividends. It just affects the karma somehow. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. I'm more than happy to overpay for Bo and Vladdy.
Yeah, as a person that actually had hair that long at one point, it is a lot cooler to be running around in a baseball field, temperature-wise, without that giant pound of hair on your head. Just saying.
Of course. Of course.
So very cool. I do really I like what I've been seeing with the two of them so far this spring. So we do have an interesting one I wanted to get to actually in the chat that this was one of my fact or fiction ones too. And the question is fact or fiction, is George Springer actually going to be this rough this season? Or is he going to find something in the Fountain of Youth or right and left in the tank here to get back going?
Christ, I
hope
so. Christ, I hope so.
Too.
He
Gaming, appreciate the comment because we were going to ask this one way or the other.
I think the batting average going into today's game, and it's spring training. You're trying out new things. You're trying different approaches. I think it was below 200, which is not good.
Like $1.50 or something.
And it seemed like that's getting to him because there was an at bat where he was called out, strike 3. And he just turned around and Sportsnet didn't censor it. So that's bullshit. What the fuck? So maybe it's getting to him. You know what, Craig? They were talking about, I think they had him at one point in spring training in the cleanup spot. And I think what would be best for George Springer is to move him down into the lineup. Put him into the lower part of the lineup. Take the pressure off.
Let him have the stress. Exactly.
Yeah. Just take the pressure off. I know, the contract and there's the reputation of the leadoff home runs, but you know what? Just put him down in the lineup, let him just have a breather, and maybe just him not having to be the guy or one of the guys can pay off. Maybe being a supporting cast member would be good for George. And truth be told, this is year 5 of the 6-year contract. I think we all kind of knew, given his age, that by now we're gonna see some regression. So it really shouldn't be a shock to us. He just has to adapt to this new, to his presence.
Correct. And one way or the other, he still is a presence. You still, I still think he's gonna end up having a season like he had last year at a minimum. I really don't see that being a problem. But the biggest catch that I'm starting to have is you do have some of these guys that can play the outfield that are nipping at his heels. And Miles Straw, I'm not saying he's going to have the season he's having. I know you just wrote a wonderful article comparing him to a certain gentleman, but we'll get to that. That's a whole other topic. We got Clase, you have Loperfido, you have all these talented outfielders all of a sudden, which last year going in the spring, we had no other outfielders. Just to paint that picture, there's a reason that Davis Schneider was converted to the outfield. There's a reason some of these other guys became outfielders. It was because you had nowhere to put them in the infield. So you had to put them in the outfield. And I don't know if this team right now has the best lineup on the field with George Springer playing 100-something games. That's my question.
Even with the speed in the glove?
I think he's going to be a major league contributor one way or the other, but I do think he's going to be one of those guys that's pinch hit or getting an extra day off more than often than he's been in the last couple of years. At least that's my thought.
Well, we just, we have to let the story play itself out.
Correct.
And I'm just crossing my fingers. I just want him to be a good supporting cast member. Move the order along, get a nice hit, get on base. He doesn't
would be
have to be
a
the
fun
guy.
igniter in the 9 spot to be able to turn the lineup over. Who was it we had a few years ago that was just destroying out of the 9 spot? And I'm blanking the name on.
But what year?
It was like 2-3 years ago.
Ramil Tapia?
That was one of them.
He was a good
He was pretty
good
damn
one.
good in that 9 spot. Good. He was that for whatever reason, he always found a way to table set when the lineup came back around when he needed to. So maybe it was Tapia that I was thinking about. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I would be perfectly happy with getting what we got out of Springer last year if he's batting lower in the lineup. But the problem is, how do you set up the top of the lineup then? Would be my question for you, Mr. Rosenhek.
Well, this is the big talk around on the talk shows and on Twitter. They want Bo leading off, Vladdy second, and Santander third. Personally, I think that's better if they're going 2-3-4. And I had this crazy idea, and involves a fellow Rochesterian.
My boy. It's like you're reading my mind.
Ernie C. Ernie C's having a pretty good spring training. I mean, the man took a baseball to the face, and
then jumps out and beats the shit out of it.
And so I thought to myself,
you hit me.
I mean, and he's got a certain approach where he's always swinging. Like if he's down in the count, he's swinging at everything, and he's able sort of just to, see that 100-mile-per-hour pitch coming in and just know where to put the bat. So why not? Why not have Ernie Clement try the leadoff spot?
What's the worst case scenario? He's at least like you said. I would rather give Ernie Clement some extra bats and see if this is real to the level he's been doing. He's clearly put some work in and clearly figured out something. And we saw a wonderful season for somebody last year from him that was not expected to be anything other than a role player. Yeah. What if he is the star that he thinks he is?
Why not? Look,
He's a fun guy.
He was struggling in Cleveland.
He could run with it.
He was struggling in Cleveland. He was struggling in Oakland. He got a chance to play for the Jays, and he got more at bats. And I think having a little bit of consistency, knowing that you're not going to be sent up and down and DFA'd, knowing that he has a place, and knowing that he's got a good, group of guys that he's come up with the Buffalo Brigade or whatever we're calling. I think that kind of helps. That takes the load off. That takes the stress off, and he could be focusing on getting the job done. I always felt he could be the next John McDonald, just that scrappy player that just, he's the, to borrow a hockey term, go in the corners and stuff like that, and do all the dirty work so that the Vladdies and Bows and Kirks can have all the glory.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a wonderful comp to, and this is somebody that I've honestly seen a very similar playing arc to with Ernie Clement. He reminds me of the way that Orlando Hudson used to play the game.
Dog. I was at a game one year where I don't know if you remember this, and I don't know if anyone on the chat remembers this. He hits a home run, and he's rounding first, and he pulls up at second, and he pulled a hamstring or something. He was hurt. So he stops at second, and George Poulos comes out, checks on him, and literally him and George Poulos walk all the way around the bases to complete the home run. So if
I must have missed that one. I don't remember that one.
It was I want to say it was either 03 or 05, but he literally pulled up, and the trainer had to come up, and they literally had to walk the rest of the way to home plate. Love the O-Dog.
Injuries happen, man. Yeah. Injuries happen. But to that point, I think it's that level of scrappy player.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the two of them. Great defense, find a way to get it done at the plate. And Orlando Hudson in those years had some really clutch hits. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I have liked from Ernie Clement. The moment doesn't bother him. He finds a way to do something in most of those opportunities he got last year. Yeah. So having that top of the lineup, I'm good with it.
Yeah. Ryan Goins, I think, would be a good comp as well.
Yeah.
Just another guy that can bat. A little more bat, yeah. A little more bat. Especially the one he smashed when Batista hit the I think that was the bat flip out. He just smashed that thing.
I think it might have been. Oh, God. Too funny. Because outside of that, I'm like, okay, great. I agree with you that the best lineup for the Blue Jays has 2, 3, 4, Bo, Vlad, Santander. Because as much as I don't mind them being pushed forward an extra at bat, Santander's been in the 5 spot in that lineup in Baltimore. And I just think that the level of mashing that gentleman can do, that one extra at bat or that batter that could get on base in front of him, can be scary. And I do think that will happen more often with a resurgent Bo Bichette, a Vlad Jr. that is looking to get paid. So I don't see them not getting on base. So let's say one of the two of them get on, which is great. And then you have Santander come up. Bang. You get some runs on the board. But if you got one more guy, whether it's like you were talking about with Ernie Clement or another gentleman that has been having a decent spring in Andres Jimenez,
yeah,
I like the idea of those speedier guys that can get on base and, get moved over maybe by one of them on a bad bounce. And then you still have them in a scoring position for Santander rather than standing at first.
We talked about Devo. Devo, what a great leadoff hitter. In fact, who was it? I think it was Michael or Nitrain that talked about him being one of the best leadoff hitters too. But yeah, when Devon White got over, there we go. It's Michael. Call. Absolutely phenomenal leadoff hitter. And he, being on there messed with the pitchers because they knew he would steal. Same deal with Ricky Henderson, right?
Yep.
These speedsters. I'm all for it. Let's go.
And the game has changed where that is weighted differently. And I do think the Blue Jays have been playing a different game of offense this spring that could help, which is some of the reasons I think someone like Stuart Baroa has a chance of making this team right out of spring training instead of, as much as I'd like to say, Davis Schneider or some of the other guys, Clase. There's that other piece to his game that coming off the bench, you have a speedy guy. So there is speed is a threat in Major League Baseball again. There's a reason that Shohei Ohtani went out of his way to become a stolen base guy last year.
And there's a reason why you can't be in the line of can't stand in front of the base when someone's trying to steal. And also the fact that the bases are bigger too. Like they're forcing the speed.
You saw those commercials with Vogelbach on MLB Network. I'm sure before last season, right?
Where did he sign, by the way? He signed. Is he a coach this year? Or?
He is a coach for the Pittsburgh Pirates, I believe.
There you go. He can hang out with Spencer.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm not surprised by that too, because Ben Cherington runs that club, and that's why we saw Roddy Tellez go there, who technically is unemployed at the moment. Correct? Or did he just get picked up by somebody? I think.
My brain is saying he got picked up by Seattle.
That sounds familiar.
Let's find out.
Rowdy is the name. The reason we have the nickname moniker on the show for the barroom chat for Blue Jays fans.
That's right. Yeah. Seattle. Yeah. Looks like he's in the Seattle
show.
Looks like he's in the Seattle organization.
Good. I hope he gets a chance because that was such bullshit what the Pirates did with him last year.
Yeah.
And they have enough balls to offer how much money for a baseball card? Fudge them. You know about the Paul Skeens card, I assume, right?
Well, I don't follow the carding trade industry.
You heard the original.
I heard there was a whole
the King's ransom
chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. Pirates were offering 50 years of 2 season tickets, all these player experiences, autograph things to get that card back to Pittsburgh. But you couldn't give Rowdy Tellez an extra $2 million or having 3 more at bats that last season.
It's
good job, Pirates.
There's probably other, if it's not the Pirates doing that, it's some other team.
Yeah. So that card is actually in auction right now. It's got like 7 or 6 more days on the auction. It's already at 550,000 American dollars.
Damn, that's a little out of my price range, Craig.
A little out of my price range. I wish I had that kind of money.
Sounds like it's what was it? That Mickey Mantle 1950s card? That's another big one.
Same ballpark.
In the world of wrestling, there's a 1982 Hulk Hogan card that's pretty popular. Like that, if you can get that, that's the creme de la creme of trading cards.
Except he's kind of a dick now. But he was just here in Rochester. He was only apparently signing boxes of his beer.
Oh, I saw some guy was giving it to him. American-made beer, brother. How the mighty have fallen. Hey, we have the same thing here in Canada with Gretzky.
Yeah,
the heroes are becoming villains, man.
Yeah, so good times. But anyway, Rowdy, I hope the best for you in Seattle. I really do. I love you. You're a great guy. So But let's continue talking spring training fact or fiction. So I want to start broadening our horizons a little bit. We're going to start with how the Blue Jays are currently standing in the standings for, I'll say, the spring training. Fact or fiction to the fact that we are winning this many ball games?
Fact. I think they're 8-1 at TD Park.
I think you are correct, sir. I do think that the pitching plays, regardless of the fact that we get a little bit of a detour in the Mad Max, revenge tour that we're going to see on the American League this year, because he's been insane to watch, my friend. But had a little thumb issue, I guess, but it's been cleared. There's no problems. He's going to take a few days off.
Cautionary tale.
Back in business.
Being cautious.
Correct. And to that point, please be cautious, because this pitching staff, without him, it starts to get thin pretty quick.
Yeah.
After you get past the normal 5 that we have, you get into the Alek Manoah revenge tour. Continued 2.0. And then you start getting into the guys that were probably down the league a little bit further than you would like to be bringing back up to the major leagues. So I would love to see what we need to see from Mad Max this year, even if it's only 100 innings. Let him go out there and air it out and bring it up.
And I don't need Cy Young Mad Max. I just need a guy that
starter good Mad Max.
Yeah, I just need a good back end guy who goes out there. And it's like with every pick, just go out there, give your team a chance to win. Give me 5, 6 innings, although 7, 8 would be great.
Yes.
Give the team a chance to win. That's it. I don't need Nolan Ryan. I don't need Cy Young. I don't need Max Scherzer 2015. I just need a guy that gives his team a chance to win.
Yep, and I think he's going to find us a way to do that, because he's still hungry, man. That's the thing
and the impact
in depth in him.
The impact of him in the clubhouse, right? They love those clubhouse guys. Alex Anthopoulos was too, also likes clubhouse guys, right? So that could pay off in the future.
Did you happen to catch the 30 clubs in 15 days stuff with Bowden Francis the other day?
No.
MLB Network.
No.
So they were interviewing him about obviously what he's doing after a great season last year and really kicking off his, I'll say, Major League Baseball career, which I enjoyed in firsthand. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How much he likes having somebody like Mad Max in the locker room. And he goes, "Oh, the guy's been teaching me all sorts of pitches." And, and to that point, think of this, Bowden put something together last year. What if he ends up adding an extra pitch to get a weird tilt on a fastball or whatever it might be, and he learned it from Max Scherzer? Game on.
Greatest story ever told.
There's all that thing. Exactly. And he actually was talking in that interview that him really discovering how to put the little extra tilt on his slider was one of the real reasons he thought he really was able to take off and do what he did during those near no-nos and stuff last year. There you go. So that's a good one right there. Scherzer is such a competitive psycho. There is not a day off. The rest of the club when they start. So there is something to say that I made the joke many years ago that, funny enough, about the same time I started doing this podcast, that Josh Donaldson might have been the kick in the ass that the dugout needed in 2015, and I might have been proven right by the end of that season.
Yep. The get it done league.
So get it done league. So maybe Scherzer's that piece that this team needed to be able to be that. And then I think you have the other person in that, and Anthony Santander. Those two guys coming into that dugout do change the culture.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We could only hope for the best. Got to let the story play out and hope that impact is felt throughout the entire team.
Yep. So Blue Jays fans, we're down to the 15-minute warning here on the hour. So please make sure you get those comments in so you can let me and Eric, battle it out a little bit longer. But I want to talk on recent Major League Baseball news, and this is a big one. The Yankees lost Garrett Cole for the rest of the season. So that automatically moves Max Fried to being the best pitcher on that team, which, by the way, no slouch. But they obviously have a giant hole to fill. That happened. The Red Sox are looking a little dented up. Some of those guys that are returning from injury for the Rays and their pitching staff haven't really shown, I'd say, their prowess this spring. the Blue Jays probably have the best pitching rotation in the American League East right now, Eric. How are you judging where we sit currently amongst our peers in the American League East?
I'm praying that nothing bad happens to this rotation. And
Knock on desk.
Yeah, exactly. Knock on wood and everything. 2016, why did the Jays succeed in 2016? It was because that rotation dominated and it was healthy. I think they only, seven? I think there were 7 starters in total that season.
Yeah.
The loss of Garrett Cole is huge.
Innings, I believe, from our 5th starter that year. I'm blanking on who it was, but you had Jay Happ as like a 3 guy.
Yeah, I think Dickey and Lariano were kind of at the back end there.
Yeah.
And Stroman as well. Speaking about Stroman, he's, if I'm not mistaken, they want to put him in the bullpen, and he ain't thrilled about that. And with the loss,
I don't know why
Cole,
they have to now.
That's an opportunity. Yeah, that's an opportunity for him.
Yep. So, we also have the 3 through 5 worst batting lineup is what we also mentioned. But to our longtime compatriot here, Jeremy Pridham, I do think the American League East is now up for grabs with some of the stuff that's happened to teams around us this spring. If we can find a way to hit, the pitching's good. We have a bullpen. We actually added some pieces to that bullpen over the last week that are potential options in depth at the Buffalo level. Dylan Tate being one of them that they added.
And I'm thrilled Yarbrough came back. I'm thrilled.
I am too, because to me that was the cherry on top, that piece we were missing. This bullpen had nobody that had any well of reach to be able to go an extra inning if they had to, and now you have somebody like Yarbrough that can at least give you a deuce for a couple innings if you need them. I do think that was a great piece for them to be able to turn around and bring back, and not to mention a guy that's actually won too. So I do really, really, really like that. There is that one too. The Tampa Bay Rays still don't have a home, so you're going to be playing however many games we play with the Tampa Bay Rays in Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. To be able to,
the weather is just ridiculous. The weather gets really ridiculous there. They were talking on the broadcast today, like ridiculous amount of heat, ridiculous amount of rain, and it seems like they're going to play a lot of home games in April and May, and then they're going to just go on like the road trip of all road trips in June and July. Which, I mean, if you're a Blue Jays fan, you know what that was like during the COVID seasons. But
yes,
man, it's crazy what's happened to the Tropicana field.
Yeah, you do not want to be outside playing baseball in July and August in Tampa. It's hot.
I thought Texas was bad.
There's a difference, and I hate saying this but because I've been in both those climates for my day job when I'm traveling and whatnot. There's a very difference between humid heat and desert heat.
Yeah,
I would much rather play baseball in desert heat than being playing in what is basically having to cut through the air with a knife level of humidity in Florida that time of year. So it is what it is. But the other comment that we have for the American League East, I did a disservice to the Baltimore Orioles. They are obviously in this too, and they have the offense. I'm very, very curious to see what their pitching does. I really don't know. They always seem to find a way to do something, though.
Yeah, and it seems like sort of the chatter with the Orioles is that they didn't really add to their roster. Plus, it sounds like is it Adley or Gunnar? I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it Adley or Gunnar who's banged up?
Gunnar.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
Gunnar.
That is a big loss. But we've had people in the chat here.
Ballpark in a month, so he'll be back by the end of April.
Yeah, we have people chatting up here. Like Jeremy said, AL East is up for grabs, and Michael's talking about the O's running away with the division. You know what? Winning the East, I don't know how everyone else feels, Craig, but for me personally, I'm okay with wild card spots. Like, let's normalize.
I am too, but it would be beautiful to win the East.
Well, of course, we would like that, but you know what? At this point, I'm like, just get in the playoffs. Just get that ticket, because everything resets, right? And if they need to play 2 extra games, I'm all for it, right? 3 wild card 100%. Spots. Basically, there's 4 chances to get into the playoffs in the American League, and our chances are, if everything comes together and no bad luck happens, we can get one of those spots. I'm perfectly happy with a wild card spot.
Yeah, I need a ticket to the dance. That's all it is. And I will say this. Let's say the cards play out perfectly here. The Blue Jays play really well. They make the postseason. this team is actually pitching-wise very well set up for a 3-game series to start the playoffs. Very well set up for a 5-game series. There's some fun here that could be had if we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, hey, you think about how Cleveland's run in 2016. I mean, they outpitched the Blue Jays in that ALCS, and that's not to say that the Blue Jay pitchers, Estrada was good, Sanchez was good in that series, but man, like when Andrew Miller, when Andrew Miller, it was like you might as well put a knife through my heart, right?
Yeah, it was bringing Mariano Rivera out there for like way too many innings, basically the equivalent of Major League Baseball legends. So, and that is a legend that will not ever get enough play. Not Guy Eddie, if you're listening to us tonight after being on the show last week, please make sure you do a NEPTA on Aaron Miller, because that guy was amazing. He will never get enough rep being a mid reliever instead of a closer. So that is one of those things. So, but yeah, that is really, I just really don't think that if the pitching on this team is definitely the strength. We got to find a way to move guys around the pillows to be able to win, because outside of Vladdy, outside of Santander, you have a lot of guys that can maybe hit 15, 20 home runs, but you're counting out a lot to happen there, Eric.
No, Bo can do it. I could see Bo doing it.
Oh, yeah. Bo could do it. But then you're dropping down to Kirk, who honestly,
people are raving about Kirk.
Fourth spot. So,
and who knows? Maybe Will Wagner gets a chance, gets some opportunities, and maybe who knows? Maybe Miles Straw gets an opportunity and turns into the next Batista.
Now you're just plugging your article. So I was going to end this show because I read it. I'm entertained. I like the idea. Give the Blue Jays your sales pitch on your article here, because like I said, I would have never jumped to that conclusion. But after reading your stuff, I was like, it's kind of the same story. It's not too far off. He's got all the talent.
Right. Well, Batista spent his 20s bouncing around different teams. In his rookie year, he played for 4 different teams in 2004. And then finally he's with Pittsburgh, and he's going, there's seasons where he's going up and down, and seasons where he's getting enough reps, but he's just not, he's an okay player. He comes to the Jays in 2008, very little fanfare of it. And I remember everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? Right. Actually, I remember I was at a game in 2009, and he went back to back with Aaron Hill, and Jose Batista hits this home run. He's circling the bases. I'm like, wow, how rare is this? The 25th guy on the 25-player roster, the utility player, he hit a home run. How great is that? That's something you don't see every day. Jose Batista hitting a run. Of course, less than a year later, it's a different story. But you know what? All it took, and you know the story. He was in the batting cage, and
it was DeMarlo Hale, right?
No, I don't think it was DeMarlo Hill. It was oh my God, I could see his face too. It wasn't Vernon Wells. It was the Dwayne Murphy. And just said, essentially just say, let's make an adjustment, which I think was, start swinging as soon as the pitch leaves the pitcher's hand, as opposed to waiting to see what's coming in. See if you can pick up how the pitcher's holding that ball in that split second, and it paid off hugely for Batista. So maybe just a small adjustment like that could work for Miles Straw, because he's got good defense, he's got a glove, and we are the defending Gold Glove team Gold Glove champions, so we've got that. So
2 years of running,
one little adjustment could, it's the butterfly effect kind of thing.
Yep. So. It's funny to bring up the Gold Gloves and all that kind of stuff, but we got a great comment here for our buddy Night Train as what's going on. He's sweeping declaration. He's calling it right now. The Jays are winning the division, half because they're due for some luck. Vlad and Bo in their contract years. The pitching staff wants to win. To your point, great defense. And they got embarrassed last year. So
that they did. I also like Michael's comment here.
That is a hell of a piece right there too. I like the idea there. And there is something for the chip on your shoulder part.
Yeah,
I will say that there's a way to, remove the knife and throw it back at somebody, right? So you got to figure something out to be able to play for it. If that's the piece that gets some of these guys that were on the team last year, it's like, that wasn't us last year. Taking it this year. There is something to that too.
I can't remember if it was Bassett that was saying this, but a number of players talked openly about the animosity towards the front office. They couldn't understand why the front office is getting the most of the anger and not them. And they're saying, we're the ones that screwed up. We're the ones that didn't play well. Why are you blaming them? You should blame us. So I think they're seeing that. They're seeing the knives out, and I think they want to improve.
Yeah. And to that point, good for them. That's how it should be. I know when I don't do my best, all I want to do is come back and, prove everybody wrong, or, just be that much better for myself even. It's not just so much rubbing it in somebody's face. It's just, I know I can do better. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to fix it, and then I'm going to win.
On the basketball side, there's a famous video of Kyle Lowry after a Raptors playoff game that didn't go well. Crowd leaves, and he comes back out, and he starts practicing and shooting hoops after the game because he didn't play well, so he wanted to improve. And I think
very much in the ballpark of Jose Barrios in the last playoff, hanging out in the dugout, just sitting there watching the Twins win. Yeah. It's that same image that I'm getting from you telling that about Kyle Lowry. So that's really cool. And there is something powerful to that it's like, well, that happened. Time to get back at it. And I do think that there was enough players for the Blue Jays organization that were in that same mindset with how many of them were there the whole off season together in the player development center as they came and went. And then obviously you do get the reinforcements of Santander, Scherzer, Jimenez. This is a good enough different of a look of a team that those pieces could really turn those ones that are looking to show something this year to
don't forget Hoffman.
Be that guy. Yep. So yeah, I've loved what I saw with him the other day. Doesn't look like this little guy was bothering much. Thank you, Orioles. We'll take that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, Swanson seems to be with having some issues with his elbow. So I'm crossing my fingers because Swanson had a crazy 2024. He went through so much very stressful situations off the field, and then he tried to he overdid it trying to get back into form, and thank God he had a better second half. And I just want him back out there dominating because he's not a bad pickup for Teo,
and we know he can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I would love to see that story, but the beauty of where he has to be on that whole thing right now, he doesn't have to press to do it. Mm-hmm. Right. He doesn't have to own that I'm the only guy that can get back and actually help this team. Right. That was kind of, I feel like, the vibe he was wearing a little bit, along with the obvious stuff revolving around his family and everything, which thank God it sounds like it's settled down. This team, he can be a great contributor to. He doesn't have to be the guy that was the setup guy, right? Mm-hmm. So all he has to do is get healthy, focus on himself, get ready to jump in and help this team. And I do think that that's all he needs to worry about. And there is a little bit of a mental load off it when you just got to worry about getting back to yourself and working on your work, and then it'll translate onto the field.
Amen.
So anyway, we're at the hour. Blue Jays fans, thank you very, very, very much for everybody that's been chit-chatting with us this evening on the chats. Eric and I greatly appreciate it. And Eric, it's been way too damn long. We got to get this going again.
Well, I didn't think I was ever going to come back. You guys are big leaguing it now. You got Ricky Romero, you got Jamie Campbell, you had Jay Jackson, you had Todd Stottlemyre. And I'm like, well, that's it.
I don't know what Kool-Aid we got, man. That's all I'm going to say. We struck gold. We had a great time doing that. And actually, to that point, thank you for reminding me, because actually we have one of the 3 people that have ever hit a Blue Jays cycle on the show next week.
Well, Jeff Fry?
It's not Kevin.
Jeff Fry?
You got it.
There you go.
Jeff Fry is joining us next week at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Coast Time, to talk all things baseball. And we can obviously ask about his wonderful career, time with the Blue Jays, and his post-career is very similar, apparently, to what's been going on with our other friends, Travis Snyder and whatnot in particular, that he is very involved in baseball still. So I'm looking very forward to hearing those stories. And then the following week, we just booked Bob File.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember him?
Bob File, yep.
I remember loving Bob File out of the Blue Jays bullpen, and I thought he was going to be one of those guys that was going to run away with a closer job, and then he just couldn't find the plate. But to that point, I'm looking all very much forward to seeing Bob File on this show. Both those gentlemen came highly recommended from our new friend at Not Guy Eddie. So make sure you check out his wonderful fun of Not Enough People Talk About, or NEPTA for short. So make sure you guys check that out. Greatly appreciate it. But to that point, Eric, you're always a part of this Jaybird watching family. Anytime you want to be here, or anytime you just need to get a John Cena villain rant off of you, there's your platform. Go ahead and have fun with it. Here's your shameless self-promoting bit. And I can see you.
That's right. I hope when he does his first appearance since turning heel that they play Basic Thugonomics. God damn, that's a good theme. But getting off that, thank you so much, Craig, and thank you to everybody that was in the chat today. You could follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at the Heck, THEHEK. Similar on Instagram, it's THE_HEK. And the blog is called Definitely Not Jays Talk. It's just my little space where I can put out all my crazy ideas and stuff. dnjt.wordpress.com, dnjt.wordpress.com. Come see me. And again, it's been a pleasure. And as the kids say, Craig, lights up. Let's go.
Let's go. So on that fact, I would be doing myself a disservice for not asking how much fun you had at Elimination Chamber, who apparently Michael was there too.
Michael, I didn't see you. No, but you know what? It was, oh my God, Craig, I haven't been to a live, like I watch wrestling all the time, or well, off and on for years and years, but it's been almost 25 years since I was at a live event. And it's been 25 years, almost 25 years since I was at Skydome for anything other than baseball. But it was just an amazing experience.
Look at that.
Rock, when the Rock started speaking, it's a PLE, so there's not a lot of mic time for the wrestlers. But when the Rock started speaking and his voice is going through the Skydome sound system, and you know how that sound travels in that building, you hear it. You don't just hear him. It
goes right through you.
It literally went through me. Like I felt like it was like God speaking to me. And then Cody, says, Rock,
in this situation, it was more than double
yourself. Like I literally jumped out of my chair. It's a miracle I didn't fall over the railings and stuff, but it was just such a powerful moment. And then it's funny because I'm way up in the 500s. I'm literally 500s behind home plate, which is usually where I sit for a Jays game. And I'm focusing. I don't want to focus on what's going on the screens because I want to see the live action. If I want to look at the screens, I'll be at home. So I'm watching Cody and John Cena hugging it out. And then I hear the roar of the crowd. I look up the screen and I see Rock doing the little cutthroat. And just as I'm looking back down, that's when Cena gets him right between the legs. Wow. And it's just, oh, beautiful. Michael was there too. There you go.
Yeah, he wasn't probably too far from him. Maybe somewhere else in the ring.
Yeah. And Michael, I hope you didn't take the TTC to the show because the great TTC, Craig, if you can believe it, with a big wrestling show and many other things happening downtown Toronto, they decided to shut down a major part of their subway system, which was right through the downtown area. So basically Bloor to Osgood, which goes right through the major downtown stops, including Skydome. So I wasn't late or anything. It didn't affect me, but still it was a bit of a nuisance.
Correct.
Total nuisance.
Yeah, that's like I've drank too many nights at way too late in the bar and I forgot the subway closes early.
Oh wow, damn! Poor Mike.
How do I get back
poor
to my
Michael
hotel?
Here stuck in Toronto traffic. Yeah, the Don Valley parking lot.
Fun,
Michael.
bud.
I respect you.
Thank you very much, Michael, for listening to our shenanigans. And apparently, Night Train hasn't been to a live event since Raw in 1995. So that's a fun time.
That's crazy.
It's funny you mentioned that not being at the Skydome for something other than a Blue Jays game. You actually had to make me think about that one, and been there for many things over the years. The last one I actually was the Foo Fighters before Taylor died. It was before that. It was the year before that, and then I have to go even way further back into my history. Phil Collins, when the song "Sussudio" came out.
Did you say Phil Collins?
Phil Collins.
Damn, you don't strike me as a Phil
One
Collins
of my parents. I
Oh,
was a
okay.
little ankle biter at the time. But he's a
Nice.
hell of a drummer.
Yeah, for
Drummer
me it
myself.
was an Argos game. Believe it or not, yeah.
Yeah.
For all the young kids listening, believe it or not, the Skydome used to have 3 professional sports teams. You had the Argos in there.
Oh, Bill's
you had,
there.
yeah, even in the Bills. Not only the Bill.
That was horrible.
Bills and Toronto series, my God. But the Raptors also played there, and man, Skydome was not a good place for NBA basketball. It worked when you had like the Bulls and the Lakers, but oh man, it was
Had
something.
like the Harlem Globetrotters come through, right? Loved watching them too. So, but anyways, Eric, thank you very much for joining us. If you don't mind, hang out for a moment after the show like usual so we can chit chat some more.
Yeah,
Blue Jays fans, thank you.
I got a little
very
bit
much.
battery left.
Yeah, okay. I'll make sure we squeeze the last bit out of it. Thank you,
Beautiful.
Blue Jays fans, for tuning in. Make sure you join us next week with our guest, Jeff Fry. We are going to talk all things Blue Jays baseball and get ready for the season, obviously, as well, and get some of his tips on what he used to do maybe in spring training or some fun jokes, just like we've been doing. So make sure you tune in live. Have a great time chatting with us. We enjoy having everybody on the live stream. We will answer as many questions in the live stream as we can with Jeff Fry with you next week. And then the following week with Bob File, former Blue Jays reliever, who we also love. So if you missed us on the live stream, make sure you get us wherever you get your podcasting pleasure from. And we hope you have a great evening. And as always, lights up. Let's go Blue Jays. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!